All right, Gemini. So these ones are not too bad. There's a little bit of difficulty here, but I think it's going to be pretty easy for you to work through this. So Gemini, this week from Lay Vampire, you pulled Sacrifice, Renunciation, Offering, and Letting Go. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled Impasse. Now, Sacrifice, the blessing says, your compassion, heart, and empathy will grow as a result of the sacrifice you are now being asked to make. Not by another, but by your own soul. You are strong enough to do this, but you have never known for sure because you have never put yourself to the test. Now you will, and you will see just how strong you truly are. And then working with this card talks about the different things that you may need to sacrifice in order for you to benefit. Like needing to sacrifice some sleep to go out and get exercise, to sacrifice the luxury of a paycheck in order to explore your true calling, and then letting go of comfort in order to explore. So there's going to be something that you're going to have to sacrifice here. Otherwise, you're going to keep hitting that impasse. Now, the inspiration here says, this is a reroute, not an ending. The path is blocked and you are at an impasse, but the goal is still there. Do not wait for your present situation to change. Stay focused and find another path. The personal question says, how adaptable am I? What does this card reveal about my feelings and my reaction to delays? The key ideas are change of direction, regroup and refocus, protection from harm, and guardian angels. So there may be a reason why the path is being blocked. But basically with sacrifice, for you this week, there's going to be something that you're going to have to let go of. All right, Gemini, here we go. Here is the energy coming through, the Knight of Coins. So... oh, not only are you hitting an impasse, but things are dragging ass. Now, as far as, financial goes, the Knight of Coins is great. It's great news. So, as far as an action, the Knight of Coins is not really an original thinker. This is somebody who's working in a very methodical way, moving forward with a little bit of caution. And again, slow movement. But what I like about this Knight is that there is a look at the long term. This isn't just moving forward quickly and not thinking about the consequences of actions. You're looking at the long term here, but it's also suggesting that things are going slow. And in the past, the Queen of Cups. Now, I feel both. Now, in terms of your own energy, the Queen of Cups, first of all, is talking about the emotional side, right? Being emotionally intuitive, but, being careful about your emotional attachments as well. Now, for some of you, you could be dealing with another person here and you're looking at water, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. But for me, the description for the court card is more important than the actual sign because as far as I'm concerned, it can be anywhere in someone's chart. Now, the Queen of Cups, right? This is somebody who is very emotionally supportive. She's a little bit different than the King, where the King, knows better than to get too wrapped up. The Queen does. So for some of you, you're being very giving of your emotions and your time. And then for some of you, you are dealing with a water sign here that you could possibly be working with, looking at the Knight of Coins. In the present, the Four of Cups. So now, and this is where I worry about, the emotions that are surrounding you. This one's different for you guys. So now, the Four of Cups, seeing that in the present is talking about emotional apathy, boredom, blah, yuck. Looking at what you have and going, there's got to be something better than this. There's that lethargic kind of feeling there. And which is understandable with the Knight of Coins if things are just kind of slowly progressing forward and you're not really seeing any excitement or action, But for some of you, this could literally be rejecting offers though too. But I feel blah, like, come on, like, let's get this show on the road kind of feeling. Future conditions. The Seven of Coins. So there is where you're looking at things and going, yeah, I'm not seeing the results that I want. What can I do now to, start working toward the things that I want to see. You know, the Seven of Coins for me really doesn't show waiting. You know, for me, it's like you're already seeing the initial results through the effort you put through. The question is are you happy with what you're seeing? You know, and for you guys, you're reevaluating it, especially with that Four of Cups. So, which, you know, I do like coming out of the Four of Cups. Basically, it's saying that you're not staying in that emotional apathy. Like you're getting off your ass and you're thinking about, all right, now what can I do? You know, what I'm doing isn't enough. You know, I feel like you're not seeing the results that you want. And, you know, I don't know, I kind of still feel both here with the Queen of Cups. But I'm waiting to see how she connects with what's in your environment here. Okay. Your best path to follow, the Lovers. Now, in terms of, you know, relationships here, it's saying that this is an important relationship, a very important one. And what's funny is that you and being who you are, right, is your best path to follow. Gemini. So the Lovers, no, besides that, is talking about the duality, right? Do you follow temptation or do you take the moral high ground? You know, as far as major life decisions here. But for some of you, I don't know, I feel like a relationship is really important here. And there are some major decisions being made based on that. You know, especially if you're feeling apathy in the present moment. Oh, my goodness. But I do love your card, the Lovers. It's beautiful. So be who you are, Gemini, right? If anybody can handle duality, it's definitely you. But, you know, I'm not seeing a situation here where one twin is speaking and the other one's like, oh no, we've got some other shit to talk about. You know, I just think that with the Lovers being there, you know, you're going to have to make the right decisions for you, right? Even if that means following a little bit of temptation, which I know I've seen for you before. But, you know, with the Knight of Coins, basically within a love situation, it's talking about the importance, but it's also talking about moving forward with a little bit of caution, which isn't bad, you know. Oh boy. In your environment, the Eight of Wands, and this is why I feel like both, you know, the emotions are playing a part in it as far as your side goes. But, you know, for some of you, you're receiving communication from somebody. The Eight of Wands, you know, is not just communication. It's also about fast moving energy, needing things to pick up, right? And that's understandable. It's like, okay, let's go. Let's start moving. This needs to move along like right now because, you know, I'm feeling bored. Let's get on with this. But with the Knight of Coins there, no, things are going to drag ass for a little bit, which sucks. But you want to be careful about moving too quickly through a situation though, too. You know, especially if this has to do with a relationship. You know, you don't want to move too quickly through things and then not really think about, you know, what's going to be next. But I don't really think that you're doing that. I just think you want to get the show on the road here. You know, let's start moving. Your hopes and your fears, the Seven of Wands. So now going back to communication. The Seven of Wands is talking about needing to use your voice. I've always said that this card for me is that I'm not taking any more shit. This is where I stand. This is how I feel. You know, this is what I'm going to do. End of story. And for some of you, you know, I still feel like there's a rejection of an offer with the Four of Cups. But then I also feel like, you know, because of the boredom, I think some of you feel like, you know, you're making a major decision here to take a risk and do something else. You know, and as far as the Queen of Cups goes, you know, I still feel both. For some of you, this is going to be a person that you're in a relationship with and you're wanting to see the ball start moving here. Like, let's go, right? So I don't feel like it's you that's dragging ass. Unfortunately, I feel like it's the situation and, you know, the possible person that's involved here. You know, but there's quick communication going back and forth. But, as far as the hope, it's like needing to defend the way that you feel, you know? Look, I'm not seeing what I want here. And it's like you need to communicate that, And again, it's like, I don't know. I feel for some of you it's a relationship. I do, with the lovers sitting there. Right? I mean, definitely is the best path to follow. You want to be who you are, being the card of Gemini. But, I do feel like for a lot of you, it's going to have to do with a relationship. That, or you're making major life decisions here and having to defend that decision to somebody that may have had, an investment in what you were doing. Right? And there may be some communication going back and forth here about, well, I don't like this, so this is what I'm going to do. And you're just going to have to take it, pretty much. Okay, and this is why I kept feeling like this had to do with another person and a relationship. Look at it. I mean, but it's dragging ass. It's moving too slow. Like, damn it, if you're going to offer me something, it better be good because, talk is cheap with the Knight of Cups. I'm telling you, actions are what's important with that Knight. And for some of you, you're reevaluating it, especially if you've had communication with a person before and it just wasn't good enough. It's almost, I want to say, took you long enough, didn't it? So again, for some of you, it's going to have to do with a relationship. Now, for those of you who are just looking at, the major life decisions here, when you're looking at the Seven of Coins, the reason why that's there is because you weren't happy with what you have. It's not good enough. There's got to be something better. So you look at, how do I change this, basically, with the Seven of Coins. Things are moving slow, but when you're looking at the Knight of Cups beyond the offering of love and romance, you're talking about following your heart and what makes you happy. And for some of you, you're needing to defend your choice. But it's not a bad thing. It's just, I think for a lot of you, you're like, come on already, let's go. I'm tired of waiting around, like wanting the energy to pick up like right now. And again, dealing with a person, I still feel the same thing. It's like, damn it took you long enough, didn't it? So by the end of the week, you may get the communication that you're wanting to hear, but it's going to take a little bit, and it may be because the other person is moving forward with a little bit more caution than you are, though, too. My goodness, Gemini. All right, we're going to take a look at the soul trees to see what other messages there are for you guys. Boy. Tranquility. Just be. Third eye, my goodness. Oh boy. Oh boy. So tranquility, right? Just be. You need some tranquility. So you just need to be within your flow in the universe. And that will help you open the third eye. My goodness. I don't get to see that one a lot. That's one of my favorite ones, but I think it's amazing when you see that the third eye is opening. And I know I've seen this for you guys before. But, in order to get some tranquility, you just kind of have to be within the flow of things. Instead of trying to go, 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 right? My goodness, Gemini. All right, we're going to take a look at Whispers of Love to see what you guys can do to attract some love into your life. But I don't think you have issues in that department right now. Back to what you love. Your current situation is giving you an opportunity to reevaluate what you want. Yeah, we know. And then listen with your heart. You are listening to what is being said to you, but need to listen with a loving heart and stop moving so damn fast. Jeez. Not bad, Gemini, not bad. But yes, reevaluating the situation, especially in terms of offers that are being made to you. Absolutely. Reevaluate what the hell it is that you want, especially when it comes to relationships. But you gotta listen, right? It's funny because my kids tell me all the time, I know you hear me, but are you listening to me, right? But yeah, Gemini, so don't try to move too quickly through this. Things are going to be dragging ass a little bit, but you're going to get there. I think eventually in the end here, you're going to hear the messages and the offers that you want. But again, with the lovers, be true to you, be true to who you are. All right, Gemini. So you and Scorpio this week. But I love that it showed up for you as your best path to follow. Hell yeah, be who you are, right? You guys have a beautiful card. Beautiful card. Now, I feel like for some of you, the reason why you're hitting a block here is because I don't think that you really know what you want right now. I do think that you kind of get to a point here where you start to, get a little bit more clear on what you're wanting, especially when it comes to relationships. But I think what you need to sacrifice here is the need to have things happen quickly, right? It's funny because I keep hearing it's about damn time. Like it's about time you said something. And I do think that for some of you, you are, dealing with a relationship, an important one here with a person, right? And I feel both. I feel both in terms of, the emotions that are being communicated. Now, with the Four of Cups, yeah, I could see you, it's like you're having to speak up, like, damn it, that's not good enough. You better come up with something better here. And then it's like you start to reevaluate what it is you really want. And eventually here the messages start to come through and so do the offers. But, is it going to be good enough, right? At least the Four of Cups is only in present conditions. It just looks like you start to reevaluate things based on, the new offer, the new communication that's coming through. My goodness. But unfortunately, things are going to be dragging ass. Oh my goodness, things are going to be moving slow. And it's funny because, I can feel it. Like, come on, let's get the show on the road, like right now, But I think that, and I do feel, though, that you get what you want out of the situation by the end of the week. It's just right now you're hitting that impasse, and what you need to let go of is the idea that things need to move quickly. Now, in terms of the soul trees, you need some tranquility, but the only way that you're going to get that is to just be. Just be within the flow of the events that are happening. And then the third eye starts to open, which is amazing. It's amazing. Now, in terms of whispers of love, back to what you love and listen with your heart, right? So reevaluating what you want, we already know this, but then also needing to listen to, what is being offered to you, because I do feel like, you're reevaluating it. But I do think that by the end of the week, you just might hear what you want to hear this time.